What an utter load of bollocks. From start to finish. There was so much absolute bollocks in that match. From the players, from the manager, from the ref. I don't even know if we have time to get through all of the utter bollocks, but there was so much of it. It was just borderline ridiculous. It was... I don't know where to start, right? So, I mean, the performance itself in the first half, for the first 10 to 20 minutes, shocking from United. Really poor. We couldn't get a foothold on the ball. Martial was giving it away with like literally every single possession he had. He just gave it away, turning over possession. McTominay was rubbish. Van der Beek should have been on because we needed that composure on the ball. We needed somebody who doesn't lose it to be on the pitch. We didn't have them. Rashford was giving it away. Just awful performances that first 10-20 minutes. And then, okay, we go 1-0 down, and rightfully so. I mean, PSG were a better team for that first 10-20 minutes. Then Fred should be sent off because the idiot moves his head. Now, I think that rule is wrong. I don't think if you move your head, it should be a red card. Like, don't get me wrong. If you headbutt somebody, red card. No problem. Perfectly fine. But when two people put their heads together and you go, fuck off. That's definitely not a red card. I think that's a yellow card all day long. However, based on the last 10 years of football, Fred is lucky to be still on the pitch. Ridiculously lucky to be still on the pitch. Because he should have been sent off based on the last 10 years of footballing decisions in those situations. Whereas I think a yellow card is perfectly fine, at most. But that's not realistic based on the last 10 years of football. That said, Fred should be sent off. Ref makes a mistake. United are 1-0 down. They should have 10 men, but they have 11. And they get better. They start to grow into the game a bit. And they get 1-0 back from a nice deflected goal. Okay, fair enough. But they come out in the second half. Fred's still on the pitch. Right? So I'm a big supporter of Ole. I think Ole is great. I think he's really good. Why the fuck is Fred still on the pitch? He should be gone. Matic on. Easily. Van der Beek on. Anybody on. Instead of Fred. The chap's already on a yellow. And the ref's going to go in at half time and look at that over and over again. He's going to have people tell him, why did you not send Fred off? He's going to have that in his ear. Take him out of the equation. And they don't. They let him play on, which is absolutely fucking stupid from Ole. And I'm an Ole in. I'm an Ole fan. Stupid decision. Then, that said, Man United should be going 2-1 up, 3-1 up, hitting the crossbar by Cavani. Martial missing open goals, just like against Southampton when Green was missing open goals. I mean, you don't take your chance at this level, you lose. So what the fuck is Martial thinking? Open goal, he's missing the target, hitting it over. Cavani hits the crossbar, Martial fluffs it again. Rubbish. Man United should be 3-1 up with 11 men, and instead they find themselves 2-1 down, and then Fred gets sent off. And he gets sent off for a perfectly good tackle. So Fred wins the ball. Great challenge. Gets the ball. It's not even a foul, let alone a yellow card. And it seems like the ref is just saying, actually, you know what? Maybe the first half was a red card. I'm going to give him a second yellow. Give him a second yellow. Which is fucking nonsense. You cannot fix a mistake with another mistake. And I don't know how VAR is not in the ref's ear saying, you've given Fred a second yellow and a red card when he's won the ball. Check it on the monitor. He's won the ball. It's not even a foul. How VAR is not saying... If that's not a clear and obvious error, sending a player off for a perfectly good challenge, if that's not clear and obvious, I don't know what is. That is the most moronic, stupid decision I've ever seen. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The whole thing was just fucking nonsense. We have to chat, Nolan. He deserved to go, John. He deserved to go in the first half. He did. Because stupidly moving his head towards a player. Now, why the two people had their heads together in the first place, who knows? But you don't move your head when it's there. Now, I still think that's only a yellow. It should only ever be a yellow. Unless you nut somebody and break their nose, there's no reason for a red card. Right? But in the laws of the game, it's a red. So he's lucky to be on. But from the second half point of view, that's irrelevant. That mistake or that decision is gone. We're now in the second half. And then the ref makes an equally bad mistake and then sending him off for perfectly winning the ball. Ridiculous. The ref has been unbelievably stupid for about 2 or 3 of those decisions. The whole game. Absolutely disastrous. And he should be fired as a referee. He should not be allowed to referee another game of football that ever exists in the history of football. He should be fired. Ridiculous decisions. He is not fit to be a referee. Beyond that then, Martial is absolutely moronic. Missing those decisions. Missing those open chances. First from his own great pass from, I think it was Rashford. Or possibly, no, it was Rashford. And then Cavani off the crossbar and Martial misses again. Absolutely stupid. You're on some VAR. They can't check yellow card tackles as it wasn't straight red. They can't interfere. And that in itself, Dwayne, is an issue. You can't check a yellow card, even though that yellow card is a second yellow card, which results in the player being sent off for what is a perfectly good tackle. And don't get me wrong, he should have been sent off in the first half based on the rules. But the ref got that wrong. Now, you can't right that wrong with another wrong. So the fact that VAR can't check a second yellow card that's sending a player off for a perfectly good challenge is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. Don't be upset. United just rejected a massive bid for VAR. Okay. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The second half performance, United were all over PSG. They should have been 2 or 3-1 up. Well before any of this Fred took place. Any of this, even Neymar's next goal, none of that should have been. We should have been 2 or 3 up. We should have won this game comfortably from that second half performance. Very, very, very poor from the referee, and everything after that then just is shocking. And that said, it was a very, very poor mistake from the referee in the first half when we were 1-0 down. Should have been brought to 10 men because of what Fred did. That resulted in exponentially shit game. So ultimately we should have lost, but then after a ref's mistake we should have won, but then after a ref's mistake again we should have lost, which begs the question. The ref has literally determined every single aspect of this game. We should have lost, but the ref made a mistake. Then we should have won, but the ref made another mistake, and then we lost because of that ref's mistake. This whole game is about the referee just making one mistake after another. It's absolutely nonsense. Dwayne Morgan, this is a game. I think this game is a case of 2 wrongs made a right. Possibly, yeah, possibly. Fred should have been ultimately sent off in the first half. But when you make a mistake, which happens all the time, Liverpool getting a goal against Leeds through VAR was a mistake. Shouldn't have happened. Fred not being sent off in the first half shouldn't have happened. I mean, there's plenty of mistakes that people make, but you can't right that by then continuing to make more and more mistakes. You just play on. I still don't think Fred should have been sent off. I think the rules are wrong. Okay? If Fred nuts your man and headbutts him in the head, fine. If he breaks his nose, fine. But literally, if a player and your player put their head together and one moves their head, then that's not a red card. You don't get sent off for that. So that in itself is nuts. What happened to Rashford? Stephen says, Dwayne Morgan comments saying Rashford didn't fancy it. Rashford played well in parts and awful in other parts. He was given possession away an awful lot. Obviously, he scored the goal with the help of the deflection, but and he set up a great chance for Martial to score and make it 2-1. So he done really well in that sense. And in the second half, he was a lot better than the first half. I think in the first half, he was awful. In the second half, he grew into it a bit, but ultimately not good enough. Yeah, I mean United now still top of the league in the Champions League, and we go into the next game needing a draw or a win against a team we've already beaten 5-0. We need to go there and get a proper result. We need to go there and get not only a draw but a win, and we need to go there and not play with 2 defensive fucking midfielders. We need to go there and play with 5 attackers. Okay, you play with 4 defenders, Matic, and then 5 attackers. Bruno, Van der Beek, Pogba, Rashford and Cavani. Okay, fuck Martial on the bench. That chap was a lazy fuck. Steve Norman says, Fulham Fernandes, so I thought it was a groin injury or something. Not sure what that means. I think Rashford went off because of an arm or shoulder injury, but I'm not sure. Pogba hit a great volley. Best performance of him all season. Oh, in fairness, Dwayne, Pogba's volley was absolutely sensational. Oh, I mean, a foot lower, and I probably would have just absolutely blew the roof off the house. It was some technique. It was great. His balance, his strike of the ball, all of it was just slightly perfect. And it was just so unfortunate that it didn't go in. And again, I wouldn't classify that as a chance, but it was something pulled out of nothing and an unbelievable moment that we could have scored from. Steve Number says we're second. Oh, no, I think we're top on goal difference. Maybe the second goal put us second on goal difference. That's fair enough. And it's irrelevant. PSG are going to be Istanbul. That's a foregone conclusion. So they're going to finish top regardless. We need a draw or a win to get second. So being second makes no difference from that. To get through into the knockout stages, we need a draw or a win. And there's no two ways about it. And the only way to do that is to go out and try and get a win. Not play for a draw, not be defensive. If we're going to go out of the Champions League, we might as well go out fucking fighting. Okay? When Fergie played in the Champions League, which Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a part of, he didn't go out with Nicky Butt and Roy Keane as 2 defensive midfielders. No. Even though Nicky Butt was class. He went out with Roy Keane, done, dusted. The rest were attacking. Giggs, Scholes, York, Cole, Beckham. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 attackers. You do that and you win the game. Stephen on PSG have a better head-to-head. Okay, well, fair enough. That's the rules within the Champions League, and that's why they're top, and that's fine. We beat them 2-1. They beat us 3-1. Which again is fine. They're gonna beat Istanbul. They're gonna qualify. There's no doubts on PSG being in the knockout phases. It's whether or not United can get a result, a draw even, against RB Leipzig, and get through themselves. Dwayne Morgan, I think Leipzig could do you. They could. I mean, Leipzig are a great team. They got to the semi-finals last year. They were top of the Bundesliga when we were playing them. They had a couple of bad moments, one of which was against us. We destroyed them 5-0. Absolutely hammered them. Whether or not we can repeat that is... like in the first 20 minutes of this game, we were shit. But in the first 20 minutes of the second half, we were amazing. So again, it begs the question, which United will show for the RB Leipzig game? The United for the first 20 minutes of this match? Or the United from the first 20 minutes of the second half, which we were brilliant? It's really hard to tell. Rich Sports joining us. Rich, nice to hear you. Thank you very much. I was watching Rich Sports. If you want to subscribe to him, he had a live stream going on during the game. So I was commenting back and forth. Very good. And Rich Sport asks, why was Fred even on the pitch in the second half? And Rich, you'll know from my comments in your own stream, I have no idea. I'm a massive Ole fan. I think he's doing a good job. I think he's had a lot to deal with, a lot to contend with. I think we're 5 points off top of the table with a game in hand, which brings us to 2 points if we win it. None of that is bad. All of that is good. But keeping Fred on the pitch after he should have been sent off, after the ref is going to be told he should have been sent off, is an error beyond comprehension. I honestly cannot understand how he stays on the pitch. It is ridiculous. Dwayne Morgan, Nicky Butt class. When you take a breath, you're losing the run of yourself. The best. Nicky Butt was class. In fact, Nicky Butt was Nicky Butt was constantly put towards the bench because of how good Roy Keane was and the fact that we didn't, in that day and age, play two defensive midfielders. I watched United live later on, and Nicky Butt was the best performer on the pitch. And that was when Beckham and Giggs and Scholes and everybody was playing. And Nicky Butt was still the best player on the pitch for his movement, his tackles, his running. Nicky Butt was severely underrated because he played second fiddle to Roy Keane. And in fairness, most midfielders or most defensive midfielders in the world were playing second fiddle to Roy Keane. Had Roy Keane not been in the Man United team, Nicky Butt would likely have been starting beside Paul Scholes. And he was a savage player. He's very underestimated, so don't dismiss that. In fact, if Nicky Butt was playing today, he would be playing alongside McTominay or Fred in that defensive midfield position, or alongside Matic, whatever one you want to put it. It's just back then we only played with one, and that one was good enough. And I wish the fuck he was playing tonight. Juan Lankawi, very poor from Ole. Very, very poor from Ole. And I'm an Ole in guy. I think he's done really good, but that was a stupid decision. I think it was a stupid decision to send McTominay out in the second half as well. Like Van der Beek should have gone out for McTominay because he was doing fuck all in that first half except fouling Neymar, and Fred should have been taken off for Matic. We've got 5 substitutions. That second half should have started with Matic and Van der Beek replacing Fred and McTominay, who did themselves no justice in the first half. Steve Norman and Juan agrees again, saying could prevent the Fred. Could prevent easily. Just take him off the pitch. It's not like you don't have Matic sitting there who's equally, if not better, at a defensive role. Steve Norman, I'd say Leipzig game will be a replica of tonight. The way the game flowed, I mean, it could be. United will be very apprehensive. They'll be very nervous. They don't seem to perform when it really matters, which is very annoying. And in that sense, because of that, they could find themselves being overrun for the first 10, 20, 25 minutes. And then either if Leipzig score or United start to get some kind of composure, after 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes, they might start to run it. I think United are a better team than Leipzig. I think they'll beat Leipzig, but I think they'll probably go behind. I honestly think they'll go behind and maybe win 2 or 3-1. But I think you're right. I think that game will very much follow what happened tonight in the fact that United were very, very poor for the opening 20 minutes. Rich Sports, Butt and Phil Neville didn't have much chance getting in that midfield. Nobody did. And Phil Neville's more of a utility player. He can play left full, right full, midfield. I don't think Phil Neville was at the same level as Nicky Butt. Nicky Butt was seriously underrated. And I think he was a great, great player. And just unfortunate that he played second fiddle and second fiddle to Roy Keane. I mean, if you've got Gerrard in the United team, if you've got N'Golo Conte in the United team, anybody in that position in the United team, they all sit on the bench while Roy Keane plays. And then you got Paul Scholes as the attacking, controlling midfielder. So no matter how good Nicky Butt was, he was never going to be better than Roy Keane, which meant he was always going to be benched. But he was definitely better than people give him credit for. Butt went on decent careers. They did, and especially Phil Neville with Everton. Rich Boers also says exactly 5 subs, no excuses, poor decision, no agenda against Ole. He just got it wrong. He absolutely got it wrong tonight. And again, Rich, me and you might be in the same boat here. I'm not Ole out. I think he's doing a good job. I think when you look at Klopp, he took over Liverpool 5 years ago. He's bought 26 players and it took him 4 years to win something. Ole finished 6th in his first season to Klopp's 8th. Ole finished 3rd in his second season to Klopp's 4th. Year on year, Ole's been better. That's not to say he will finish 2nd this season to Klopp's 3rd season when he finished 2nd. I mean, that's who knows. But he's done well overhauling this team, getting rid of Lukaku, Sanchez, Fellaini, Rocco, basically Jones, Smalling, Ashley Young, Darmian. I mean, there's so many players that have gone under Ole's watch. And we've brought in some great players. Wan-Bissaka is brilliant. Bruno is brilliant. Van der Beek is brilliant. Cavani is doing a great job. Maguire is great. We've got so much that's good. It's really, really hard to understand the things that are bad. The whole thing, though, with the decision today, I hope it gets asked in a post-match interview. I honestly can't see how any sensible person keeps Fred on the pitch. You take him off. Dwayne Morgan says, keep Ole at the wheel. Well, Dwayne, we will keep Ole at the wheel because so far he is way outperforming Arteta and Arsenal, who are currently shit, sitting in 14th and have absolutely no form whatsoever. Ole has won his last couple of Premier League games. He beat Istanbul. He's currently second in the Champions League group. He is, if he wins his game in hand, 2 points off top position in the league. And doing a fantastic job. And I think all these people who ironically say keep Ole at the wheel are going to be made to eat their words over time. Ole took over a better squad and had a bag of money. It's no comparison. Actually, it's an exact comparison. Ole did take over maybe a slightly better squad, but he still got rid of exactly the same amount of players. Klopp got rid of a shit ton of players, and he bought 26 players. In fact, I think he's bought more at this stage. He spent $500 million buying 26 footballers, and the guy still can't rest his first team, which is why he constantly complains about 5 substitutions in the Premier League. He still plays Trent in every single game he's fit for. He still plays Salah and Mane in every single game they're fit for. He still plays Robertson in every single game he's fit for, whilst complaining he's tired, rather than using one of the 26 players they've bought in order to replace them and give them a rest. Right? So Klopp did have maybe a slightly worse team he took over, but he still finished 8th. Ole took over in January and finished 6th. Klopp took over in October and finished 8th. He had longer with his team. Okay, Klopp then finished 4th while Ole finished 3rd. And then we'll see what happens after that. But that's the only 2 years we can compare. They're the only 2 years that have happened. Dwayne said he's clueless. Well, he's clearly not clueless. He's literally 5 points off top of the league with a game in hand. So technically, should we win that, he's 2 points off top of the league. So surely he has some clue as to what's going on. He's done well in beating RB Leipzig 5-0. He's done well in beating PSG 2-1 and by far outclassing them. He was really poor tonight with his decisions, especially regarding Fred and McTominay. Not going to deny that. Every manager makes mistakes with decisions, and Ole made a big one tonight. But he's clearly not clueless. Okay, otherwise we wouldn't have finished 3rd last year. We wouldn't have gone on a 20-game unbeaten run. We wouldn't have finished in 2 semi-finals. We wouldn't have. Well, we wouldn't be 5 points off top of the league, which is better than I think Man City. I may be wrong after their win against Burnley. It's definitely better than Arsenal. And if we win our game in hand, it's also better than every single team other than Spurs, Liverpool, and Chelsea. Steve Norman, Ole took over, but Dwayne, Rich Sports. He's had to move a lot of players. I think we got a much better squad than we had, and we do. We have a much better squad, a much younger squad. You know, the players he got rid of. Man United played with the Man United literally had the youngest squad last year, and we played with more academy players, giving league minutes than any other team in the whole league. Not just the top 6, not just the top 4. But we gave more academy players minutes in the league than any team last year. And we played with the youngest team in the league. And we finished 3rd. Which, when you combine it all together, isn't bad. And when you combine the fact that he hasn't really been supported in the market as you would hope. Haaland going to Dortmund, and we all see what he's done. Sanchez not coming in this window, and we all see what he can do. Bruno Fernandes not being bought last summer, but instead coming in January, and we all see what he's done. I mean, all of these things, none of which helped Ole, all of which hindered what we were trying to do, has to be taken into account. As of now, we're 5 points off top of the table, and we have a game in hand. I'll take that. I'm pretty sure any Arsenal fan would like that as well. Dwayne, I seen Mane on the bench the other day. He's injured. He's injured because he's not rested. He was also taken off the bench because they were playing shit. Klopp has very rarely rested any of his players, and a lot of them are injured at the moment. He complained about Robertson being tired, injured, needing to come off, and yet he didn't play the left full that he bought this summer. Seriously, could have just played that left full and rested Robertson, unless he's afraid to, which means he doesn't actually trust his team. Trent was injured because he doesn't trust anybody to cover for Trent. Henderson is injured because he doesn't trust anybody to cover Henderson. Robertson, if he got injured, Milner got injured. He literally is running his team into the ground because they have zero backup, or at least zero backup that Klopp trusts enough to actually give them 90 minutes in the league. Dwayne Morgan says, never said Ole was clueless, except his comment before that says, yeah, but he's clueless, you know this. So Dwayne, unless you weren't referring to Ole and were referring to somebody else, which I'm not sure who, then you did say he was clueless. But you can correct me if I'm wrong. Steve Norman, come on, he hasn't been supported in the market. No. Aaron Bissaka, great. Harry Maguire, great. They had to overpay for Harry Maguire. I mean, we know he's not the best defender in the league. We know he's not the best defender in the world. But they had to make him number one because United had money. So, yeah, he got those two signings. But we got Bruno in January when we should have got him in the summer before that. That was a massive hindrance. We couldn't even get Sancho in this window. We couldn't get Haaland. If we got them, that would be supported. It's not about the money you spend, it's about the actual players you bring in. Now, Telles, he's looking great. Cavani is free, so that's irrelevant. And he's looking great, but it's irrelevant. It's not supporting the market, he's free. Aaron Bissaka, great. They got him, they got Maguire, they got Telles, and eventually they got Bruno. For a steal, mind you. Van der Beek, great signing, great price, no qualms. But we wanted Haaland, we wanted Sancho. And the board were just not willing to pay the money for that. So, yes, he's backed to an extent, but he's also not backed to the extent that is required to take United to the next level. Dwayne Morgan, Bruno was poisoned tonight, never got going. Toddy should have gone about 60 minutes. I don't disagree with that. Bruno has games where he's brilliant. He scores, he assists, but he makes a lot of risks, and in turn with those passes he loses possession an awful lot. And sometimes you get a good risk reward ratio and you get a good assist and a goal and it's brilliant, and then sometimes you get tonight, which eventually none of which it led to nothing. And I agree, maybe Van der Beek for Bruno was a really good substitution that should have been made, but it's hard to take Bruno off simply because he can't just pull an assist out of his hole. He can create a goal from nothing. But yeah, I do agree, tonight he was not on it. And don't get me wrong, it's not like a bad performance happened tonight. First 20 minutes were shit, but second half United were way on top with 11 men on 11. By far the better team. Should have been 2 or 3-1 up. I think Bruno was playing well within that period, but after the sending off, it was all downhill. And I agree, Dwayne. A lot of decisions that Ole had made cost us. And maybe Van der Beek for Bruno earlier in the match would have been one of them, especially when it was 11v11. Steve Norman says, come on, the injuries they've got are not your average injuries. Van Dijk and Thiago because of shock and tackles. Absolutely. But Van Dijk and Thiago are the only ones that are due to shock and tackles. I'm not even referring to them. I would never bundle those injuries in with the fatigue injuries that have happened to hamstring on Milner, muscle injury on Trent, slight muscle injury on Henderson. I think there was a slight strain or tiredness on Mane. There was talk of Robertson also feeling a bit of an injury. All of those are due to Klopp's unwillingness to rotate his players and only play the same 11 every single fucking game he can and run them into the ground, and then complain about the fact he hasn't got 5 subs when in certain games he's not even using the 3 subs he has. So that's just a stupid complaint. If I was talking to Klopp, I'd say buy better players and have better backup options for your players. We take Martial off today, we bring on Greenwood. Happy days. We take off Pogba, we take off Bruno, bring on Pogba, or bring on Van de Beek. Happy days. We take off Rashford. We take off Fred for Matic, which we should have done. Really great like for like replacements and great quality replacing quality. I don't think Liverpool have that. I think you take Salah off, you simply just downgrade. You take Trent off, you downgrade. You take Robertson off, you downgrade. There's literally no like for like replacements in those areas of the pitch. And because of that, you're forced to play them in every single game they're fit. And because of that, they're getting injured. Van Dijk and Thiago are simply not in that bracket. Ridiculously rubbish challenges have taken them out for months, which is just simply unfortunate. Do you not think that Ole didn't get the players because people don't want to move to a transitioning club? Well, it depends. I mean, what is transitioning at this stage? Okay, the players he wanted, right? So Haaland, he wanted Haaland. So Haaland went to Dortmund. Dortmund, okay, they're not transitioning. They're also not going to win their league. So what does it matter? Ole wanted them for a team that finished in third for Champions League football. And whilst you can say they're transitioning, they were still the third best team in the league last year, and they're still only currently 5 points off the top of the table with a game in hand. Every team is transitioning to a point, but I think Ole has bought enough players now that the transitioning argument doesn't really come into it. They need to buy more players, they need to release more players, but they've got a great spine there, and they've got a good setting and a good set of youngsters for a good team. Like, I mean, our top three strikers without Cavani scored more than Liverpool's top three all last season. They only scored 4 less, I think, in the league games alone, if you want to just talk about league football. Now, 4 less than Liverpool strikers is actually remarkable, considering Martial was injured for a quarter of the year, Rashford was injured for a portion of the year, and Greenwood didn't even play for 3 quarters, didn't even play for a quarter of the year because he hadn't even broken through. So when you combine that with the fact that they're all 18, 22, 23, they're so young, and the fact that they only scored 4 less goals than your front three, the best front three in the league, that's extremely promising. The defence, third best defence in the league. They only conceded 3 less than, I think, Liverpool. Third best defence in the league. I think 1 less than Man City. They conceded 1 more than Man City, which would have brought them to second best defence in the league. So yeah, it's transitioning, but they're not transitioning as in, like, you know, they're finishing 10th in the league. They finished 3rd. So I don't think a player should look at that and say, no, I'm not signing for them, especially when the alternative is playing for Dortmund, who aren't going to win the league. Munich are going to win the league. Or maybe there's competition from RB Leipzig or someone else, but it's like, I mean, Dortmund aren't going to win it. And they're not going to lose out in Champions League football because United are offering Champions League football. And I think United will be joint third if they win their game in hand. They'll be 2 points off top. So Champions League football is very much up for grabs this season. So I honestly don't see the transitioning argument really being one. Definitely think Sancho was holding out before pushing for a move, though. Yeah, Sanchez might be holding out, but I don't know who's holding out for. I mean, Real Madrid are in desperate need of players. They're about to find themselves in the Europa Cup. Don't get me wrong. Fucking United could find themselves if they lose to RB Leipzig. But it's not a great thing for Real Madrid to be there. They're not doing well in the league. So I'm not sure that's a great move at this point in time, but Real Madrid are Real Madrid. So there is that mystique. They are a fantastic football team in general, okay? And I say that about United. United are a fantastic football team in general. Going there should be a pleasure for anybody. The same applies to Real Madrid, regardless of what their current form is like. But Real Madrid are up there. So yeah, maybe he's holding out for Real Madrid. Maybe he's holding out for Barcelona. But he's an Englishman. So I really think that, you know, playing in England should be an appeal to him. Playing in England for one of the biggest clubs in the history of English football, with one of the biggest stadiums, with one of the biggest fan bases in English football. For a team that last season was the third best team in English football, should have an appeal. And in fact, I'm pretty sure he would have gone to United. And it's not Sancho holding out. It's the fact that Dortmund wanted 120 million and United board didn't want to meet it. Stephen Norman, sign better players. Name 3 signings out of all of those transfers you refer to as a bad signings. Sign better players. Name 3 signings out of those 3 players you refer to as bad signings. I don't know what players and transfers you're referring to. If we're talking about United, I don't think we've signed anybody that's bad. Tellez is good. Aaron Bissaka is great. Maguire is great. In their very first season together in the United defence, they had the 3rd best defence all year last year. Bruno was obviously great. Van der Beek is brilliant and I think being underutilised. I don't know what players you're referring to. Stephen Norman, transitioning. The world's richest club who struggled to make top 4. Well, we didn't. We made 3rd. In all other sports in the world, the richest clubs and the ones with the biggest budgets win the relevant titles. Yeah, and that's sometimes true. But United don't have the biggest budgets. In fact, in the last 10 years, United haven't spent the most. Man City have. Liverpool have actually spent more than United. If you go back. And United have won more in that period of time. So just because a team spends more doesn't mean they'll win more. Chelsea have outspent United over the last 10 years, but United have won more. So it's hard to say. Yes, spending more should provide results, but it doesn't always do that. Liverpool spent nearly $500 million and they've only won 2 trophies in the last 15 years. So you look at what Liverpool has spent in 15 years since 2006, right? Look at what Liverpool spent since 2006. I think they've won 4 trophies, a League Cup, an FA Cup, a Champions League and a league. That's it. 4 trophies. And they've spent more than a lot of teams over that period. And they've won far less. So spending doesn't necessarily mean it. We didn't struggle to make top 4, we made 3rd. And currently, if we win our game in hand, we'll be joint 3rd. So that struggle to make top 4 is from 2 years ago and not really applicable. We are the richest club in the world, or maybe the 3rd richest club in the world. That tends to switch every few months. Everybody's taken a massive hit with COVID. We're one of the few clubs that have paid every single employee full wage the whole way through. And we have spent money. We just haven't spent as much as is required to get Haaland and Sancho. So yeah, I mean it's hard to discuss that. Klopp signings. You said sign better players. Yeah, well, Klopp signings. Who is Klopp signed that can replace Salah? Nobody. Who is Klopp signed that can replace Mane? Nobody. Who is Klopp signed that can replace Trent? Nobody. Who is Klopp signed that can replace Robertson? Nobody. Who is Klopp signed that can fill in for Van Dijk? Nobody. Who is in fairness, your entire midfield is shit. Okay, your entire midfield works for Klopp's system as a bunch of workhorses that run around trying to win the ball back. None of them create goals. None of them score goals. They have a very, very poor assist and goals ratio. Okay, so I'm not even going to talk about the midfield. But in your best players, the players that win you the league, Salah, Mane, Trent, Robertson and Van Dijk, right? That's your big 5. It's huge. They are unbelievable, right? You've bought nobody that can actually sub in for them, which is why you have to play them in every single game they're fit, which is why they're starting to get injured, minus Van Dijk, who obviously got smashed up by Pickford. The rest have just been injured through muscle injuries. You play them in every game, and Klopp's strategy of football, which requires a shit ton of running, is the reason for those injuries. Budget includes wages in order to have better squad. You make top 4 on the last game of the season. It's hardly comfortable. Well, we made 3rd in the last game of the season. And in Klopp's second season, he made 4th. Not 3rd, 4th. And that was also on the last day of the season. So it's equally the same. Jota, not a replacement. Jota's actually a good signing. And Jota's done brilliant in the goals he's scored. Jota is not a replacement for Salah and Mane. I don't think he plays the same type of football they play. I don't think he offers the same kind of threat they offer. He's absolutely a different option to Firmino and a great replacement for Firmino, whilst playing a different type of football to Firmino. And he's done brilliant. But I think he's overperformed for what's actually being expected of him. And I think anybody who watches football would agree that Jota's last kind of his first 4 games or 5 games when he scored in every game would be considered an overperformance. I don't think he's going to keep that up in every single match going forward. But he's a brilliant signing. And he's one of the few, but I don't think he's a replacement for Salah and Mane. I think he has bought other players for that, and I think they're not good enough. If they were, you'd rest Salah in the next league game, but you can't, because you've literally got nobody to play there instead of him. You won't rest Robertson because you have no left full to replace him. Guys, we're running on 42 minutes. I want to thank every single person for joining live in this post-match video. I really appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. But thanks again for everyone joining live. The match was absolutely bananas. From refs bad decision to refs bad decision to refs bad decision to United playing shit to then playing brilliant to them being on 10 men and just losing the game. Just really weird game. I have to say, awful from some points of view. I'm going to read Steve's comment and then we're going to finish it up. Steve Norman says, Gini would get into any mid in the world. No, he wouldn't. He's shit. Gini wouldn't get into midfield. He wouldn't get into our midfield. He wouldn't even touch our midfield. Okay? Gini can't even get into your midfield. He is not a good player. I'm really, really sorry, but the idea that Liverpool have a decent midfield is absolutely ludicrous. Okay? There are players in our midfield, and literally nearly all of them. Pogba, Bruno, they've assisted more and scored more than your entire midfield combined. Not just any midfielder, but the entire midfield combined. Every single one of your players combined. Your central midfielders are not good. Gini would not get into any team in the world. He wouldn't get into City. He wouldn't get into Spurs. He wouldn't get into United. He wouldn't get into Chelsea. He can't even get into Liverpool. So we'll leave it at that. Gini is better than Butt. Well, that's nice, Dwayne. I'm actually literally going to leave it in that comment. Thanks again, though. I appreciate the live chats. I appreciate everybody joining in. Please do like, subscribe. Join me at the weekend for the weekend's games in the Premier League. Fingers crossed we can hope for a better result. But again, good night and see you soon.
Welcome to Old Trafford. It's the better of our dreams. The power and the glory of the Stretford End will sing. The Musty boys will take the pitch with magic at their feet as the Reds go marching on, on, on. Glory, glory, Man United. Glory, glory, Man United. Glory, glory, Man United. As the Reds go marching on.
This shirt belongs to you. Always has, always will.
Chevrolet, proud supporter of Manchester United.